Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Two Girls in the Dark. I'm your host, Rachel.
And I'm your other host, Pooja.
Today we're going to be going over the strange and really unsettling disappearance of Amy Bradley. She was on a cruise in 1998 with her family and disappeared on the cruise. People wonder if she somehow fell overboard, tried to take her own life, if there was an accident of sorts, or if something more sinister happened and she was kidnapped and sold into human trafficking.
Yeah, this case in particular has garnered a lot of buzz recently. Netflix came out with a documentary that's pretty comprehensive, and important to note that that documentary was supported by Amy Bradley's family. And so Netflix treated this story with respect, and so will we, and so should anyone else talking about it, because it is still very fresh for the family. With that, let's get into it.
Amy Lynn Bradley was born on May 12, 1974, to Iva and Ron Bradley in Petersburg, Virginia. She was a recent graduate from Longwood University, where she earned a degree in sports psychology and had a full scholarship playing basketball. While in college, she had come out as a lesbian to her family. According to an ex-girlfriend, Amy's parents were disappointed when she confided in them about her sexuality. However, her father had stated, "It's Amy's life. It wasn't what we would choose for her, but it's her life and we loved her unconditionally." Despite this, the Bradleys were a tight-knit family, and things seemed to be going well for Amy. She had just gotten an apartment and a new dog, and was about to start a job at a computer consulting firm. She was ready to begin the next phase of her life. In early 1998, Ron won an all-expenses-paid family cruise from his employer. At first, Amy was apprehensive about going on a cruise, as she had a fear of heights and was uneasy about being out on the open ocean, but eventually became excited for the trip. Amy, her parents, and her younger brother Brad boarded the Royal Caribbean International cruise ship Rhapsody of the Seas on March 21, 1998, en route to Curacao. At first, it was a wonderful vacation. Like many young people, Amy and her brother spent time partying with other passengers. On March 23rd, Amy and Brad stayed up late dancing and drinking with the ship's band, Blue Orchid, at a disco party on the 9th floor deck. The band's bassist, Alistair Douglas, who was nicknamed Yellow, was seen drinking and dancing with Amy throughout the night, though he claimed he left the party around 1 a.m. The ship's videographer, Chris Fenwick, captured video of Amy and Douglas dancing, the last known footage of Amy alive. After a few hours, Brad returned to his family's cabin on the 8th deck. The ship's keycard system recorded that he returned to their room at 3:35 a.m., and that Amy entered 5 minutes later. Brad recalled that he and Amy sat on their balcony and chatted for some time before he went to sleep. At some point between 5:15 and 5:30 a.m. on the morning of March 24th, Ron awoke and checked on both children. He noticed that Amy was asleep on the lounge chair of the balcony. He later said he could see Amy's legs from her hips down, and noted that the balcony door was closed, since he would have closed it if it had been left open. When he was awoken again by something at 6 a.m., he noticed that Amy was now gone, along with her cigarettes and lighter. It wasn't like Amy to leave and not tell her family where she was going. Ron left the cabin to search for her. After checking the ship's common areas, he woke up Iva and Brad at 6:30 to tell them he couldn't find Amy. The Bradleys immediately reported Amy missing to the ship's crew and begged them to not let passengers disembark. They requested that the crew make a ship-wide announcement in an attempt to locate her, but the crew maintained that it was too early to do so. An announcement was finally made at 7:50 a.m., asking Amy Bradley to come to the purser's desk. But by then, most passengers had already left the ship for shore excursions. Between 12:15 and 1 p.m., the cruise staff claimed to have conducted a search of the entire ship, but were unable to locate Amy. In reality, according to Brad, the crew only checked restrooms and common areas, not crew cabins or passenger rooms. Brad recalled that shortly after Amy disappeared, Douglas approached him and said, "Hey man, I'm sorry to hear about your sister." Brad later found this suspicious, as no announcement of her disappearance had yet been made. The FBI interviewed Douglas and conducted a polygraph test, which he passed. Ron recalled that when Douglas had exited the interview, he came out smiling with his thumbs up. Desperate to distribute up-to-date photos of Amy to authorities and search parties, the Bradleys went to the ship's photo gallery, where passengers could purchase pictures that the ship's photographers had been taking throughout the trip. Every other passenger's photos were still displayed, but Amy's had been removed. Another unsettling detail came from the ship's videographer, who later claimed supervisors asked him to remove footage of Amy from the master video to give to the FBI as evidence. He refused, saying that the FBI could request a copy if needed, but he wouldn't hand over the original. The FBI never followed up to retrieve it, leaving the impression that the ship may have been trying to erase evidence that Amy had been on board, and that she was last seen with a crew member, Alistair Douglas. The Dutch Caribbean Coast Guard carried out a 4-day search that ended on March 27th, without finding any trace of Amy. At first, authorities speculated that she had fallen overboard, or perhaps had taken her own life, but no evidence supported either theory. With no sign of Amy, the Bradleys eventually returned home to Virginia. Still, they were determined as ever to not give up. Since Amy's disappearance in 1998, there have been numerous alleged sightings that led her family and investigators to believe that she might still be alive. Some speculate that when the ship docked, Amy left, either voluntarily or involuntarily, and ultimately fell victim to foul play. On the morning of her disappearance, 3 ship passengers claimed to see Amy with Douglas on the upper deck between 5:30 and 5:45 a.m., shortly after Ron last saw her on the balcony. They said Douglas handed Amy a drink containing a dark liquid, that the two took an elevator together, and that Douglas was later seen leaving the upper deck alone after 6 a.m. 5 months later, in August 1998, 2 Canadian divers reported seeing a woman resembling Amy on a beach in Curaçao, known as Playa Porto Marie. She was accompanied by 2 aggressive men, one of whom allegedly matched Douglas's description. Witness David Carmichael claimed that when the woman heard he spoke English, she tried to approach him before being motioned away by one of the men. He recalled that the woman would occasionally look at him and then look down. He later identified her as Amy after seeing her photo on America's Most Wanted. The FBI investigated, but was unable to confirm the account. Another potential sighting came from U.S. Navy Petty Officer William Hefner, who claimed he had an encounter with a woman identifying herself as Amy when he visited a brothel in January 1999. She allegedly told him she was being held against her will, she had disembarked a cruise ship to buy drugs, and was now trapped. Hefner did not immediately report this out of fear of the possible repercussions he would experience for entering a brothel while on duty. He contacted the Bradleys in May 2002 with his experience, but by then the brothel had burned down and the FBI could not find any evidence to support his claims. In March 2005, a woman named Judy Maurer reported seeing someone resembling Amy in a department store bathroom in Barbados. The woman was accompanied by 4 men discussing what sounded to her like an illegal deal, and that at one point the woman asked the men if they could stop and see the children. Maurer said she believed the woman said she was from West Virginia, and that her name was Amy. That same year, the Bradleys received an email containing images of a scantily clad woman strongly resembling Amy. The photos were discovered by a member of an organization that aims to track victims on websites that feature sex workers, where the woman was identified as Jazz. This seemed to support the theory that Amy had been trafficked into sex slavery and was possibly still alive somewhere in the Caribbean. While the authenticity of the photos could not be verified, a man working with the FBI performed facial comparisons and believed that these new images were very likely to be Amy. What happened to Amy Bradley? Did she accidentally fall overboard? Did she try to take her own life? Or was she kidnapped and trafficked and is still alive somewhere? Amy's family has never stopped searching for their daughter. They have continued to give interviews and raise awareness about her disappearance over the past 27 years. On March 24, 2010, 12 years after she vanished, Amy Bradley was declared legally dead. but many believe that she is still out there and unable to contact her family.
What a just really frustrating is such an understatement of a word, but what an infuriating case.
It's just, I mean, I think I say this with every case. It's just so sad. And I think we'll get into why it's so sad. I think we have a clear idea.
Like, you really just feel for Amy's family. And
Absolutely.
And again, any case that we've covered, there's always an element of sadness, tragedy to it. But you could just tell that this family loved each other.
Yeah.
They were going on vacations with each other. I mean, my family, everyone would come back dead if my family went on a vacation together. So, just seeing a happy family and having this tragedy rip them apart, it's really heartbreaking. I'm sure things weren't picture perfect for them. She had recently come out, or in college, she had come out to her family, and they maybe weren't as welcoming as she would have wanted them to be. I think that they were maybe slightly disappointed was the word, but they seemed to still love her. And her father had said, maybe that wasn't what we would have chosen for her, but it's her life. We still love her. And so it didn't really seem like there was anything to warrant her going overboard by choice.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. She seemed like she was doing well in life.
Yeah. She just graduated from college. This was their family. Her father had won the trip, but this was their last family chance to go on a trip, the four of them.
Yeah.
While before she had started her full-time job, she just got an apartment. She just gotten a dog who looked really cute in the pictures. Things were going well for her.
Yeah.
And they had briefly talked about how she and her ex-girlfriend were maybe going through some problems at the time.
Right.
But her ex didn't seem to think that she didn't take the letters that Amy had written to her to indicate that Amy was considering taking her life. There were maybe some odd coincidences, like Amy had referred to herself as a stranded island in one of the letters. I don't think anybody in Amy's life that knew her think that there was any indication that she would do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think people like to assume things like, okay, she was 9 beers in, she was drunk, she got sad, whatever. I think it's, if we're going to go with the overboard theories, more likely that she fell overboard.
If
If
she went overboard.
There is evidence to support that theory, but I think there's more evidence to support another theory.
I personally don't think that she fell overboard either. I mean, have you ever been on a cruise?
No, and I don't plan to be.
I have been on a cruise. It was for my cousin's bachelorette, and it was a great time. I had a good time. Becky, if you're listening to this, that was a pretty fun party. I don't have a desire to go on a cruise again. I will say, though, at no point did I ever feel like on the balcony, did I feel like I was going to go overboard, though. They're really high up.
And you are short.
I am short. Amy was 5'6", and I still get the impression that it would
be hard for someone to fall.
It would be very hard for someone to accidentally fall overboard, unless she was somewhere else on the ship. Her father found her. Not found her, but he saw her at 5:15 on the balcony, some point between 5:15 and 5:30. Then at 6 a.m., he was awoken by something. It could have been maybe Amy leaving or just something else. Then when he didn't see her on the balcony, he thought that was weird and out of character for her to go without saying anything. And then he went to go look for her. He couldn't find her in any of the common areas. Then at 6:30, when he couldn't find her, he woke up his wife and Brad. Out of all the she accidentally fell overboard discussions, the only plausible theory that I can see happening would be when investigators were looking at the balcony, they found that the table was pushed against the wall.
Yes.
And I could see, she was partying with the other passengers on the ship. I could see maybe she was getting sick.
Sure.
And maybe didn't want to wake her family up in the bathroom throwing up, and didn't want to like throw up on the balcony floor. So maybe she got on the table and tried to throw up like over the ship, and then maybe fell that way. But the weird thing is, if it were to have been an accident, the waters weren't rough that day. Right. And they were about to dock in Curacao.
Right.
So you would think that she was a strong swimmer, so she could have either swum to shore, or if she didn't make it, that at some point her body would have washed up on shore.
Right.
These are relatively chill waters.
It's just so weird. People are so adamant about her. Like, you'll see it on Reddit, and then in any of these discussion forums, they'll be like, look, she drowned, she fell, she drowned, wildlife ate her. I'm like, do you not understand how this works?
I think some people like the easy answer, like to say that the easiest answer is what happened.
Yeah.
And I think that's also a way, maybe not for everybody, but that's a way to bring yourself some type of closure and say, oh, yeah, no, she wasn't trafficked.
Right.
Like, people wouldn't do that. Like, no, that couldn't happen. There have been so many sightings of her, and I'm sure a lot of these sightings aren't valid. I'm sure a lot of them, as you know, we can get into later, there are people who were unfortunately taking advantage of this family. Yeah. And I'm sure some cases were maybe people wanting to get on the I saw Amy bandwagon.
Were there people that claimed to have seen her on the boat between 5:30 and 6?
So at some point between 5:30 and 5:40 a.m., shortly after her father last saw her on the balcony, there were 3 passengers who saw Amy with Yellow, the bassist who she was last seen dancing with. And he handed her a drink that was dark. And they took an elevator together. And these 3 passengers reported that when they later saw him shortly after at 6 a.m., that he was by himself.
Oh. They're close to port. She gets drugged. They're ready to disembark the boat. And there she is,
Yeah.
That would make sense in the timeline of events for a sex trafficking situation.
I will say, though, to give credence to the people who do think she went overboard, it doesn't really fit the typical mold for like people being trafficked to like spot someone with their family. Right. Who like people, if she's not there, the family's obviously going to be asking very soon where Amy is. Yeah. So that I do find a little sus, but I mean, maybe these people were just good at the horrible things that they were doing, and just knew how to do it without looking suspicious, and knew how to avoid, knew how to answer questions, and,
I've seen a lot of people make a weird argument, like, oh, she was lesbian, why would they take her? Like, why would and now some people in retort say, no, they didn't see a lesbian. They saw a attractive, physically fit, young, white blonde woman, and that's why they took her. I do think in these cases, a lot of the time, when people are either, when people disappear and, maybe they hurt themselves, killed themselves, etc., sexuality comes up. And I think like in so many ways, her sexuality isn't like fully relevant in this case.
Yeah. Well, the Unsolved Mysteries episode is where and it's not a great segment. They left out a lot of things, including the fact that she was gay. Oh. But I don't know if that was, like, to your point, it's not really relevant exactly to the case. So I don't know if that wasn't brought up because it really, for a 10-minute segment episode, it really like wasn't crucial to the point. I did have a feeling watching that Unsolved Mysteries episode that she was gay. She had a very, very cool lesbian haircut. You had a very cool lesbian haircut, Amy, if you're still out there. People bring up the argument that she was very athletically fit. She could have fought people off, but if you're drugged, I mean, You're not going to be able to fight someone off if you're drugged.
Right. And a lot of people are online being like, 9 beers was enough for her to fall overboard. If 9 beers was enough for her to fall overboard, it was also enough for her not have the facilities to...
Yeah.
Sorry, facilities, faculties? And 9 beers in, whatever the dark liquid was, I don't think she's fighting anybody off.
Yeah. One thing I could also see, though, and this isn't to say anything negative about Amy's character or anything like that, but I could also see parents, I could see my parents being like, oh, my daughter would never want to do drugs. Smoke the reefer? My daughter? No way. I could see Amy maybe waking up, or like maybe she didn't even fall asleep. Maybe she and this yellow fellow were like... Fuck. Maybe she and Yellow Yellow Douglas had planned to meet up to buy weed or something, and she left the ship thinking that it would be quick, like, and, my family's still asleep. I'll go quickly buy some weed or something, go back to the ship. They won't even notice that I'm gone. I could kind of see that happening.
How is she leaving? We haven't docked yet. How is she leaving the ship?
Well, they were leaving, I think by 7:50. They said that they made the announcement, but by that point, not everyone, but like the majority of the ship had left.
Yeah.
So, and if she's talking to a crew member, maybe he would be able to get off sooner.
Right.
Something like that, of crew VIP
right.
privileges. I could see that happening, and then something happens on the island.
Right.
Yeah, I think that was such a huge and careless mistake on the crew's part to dock when someone was missing. They definitely get the Uncle Bob's rating of
Let's
0.
talk about the Uncle Bob of it, because we're getting into that now. There is, from the moment that Amy's father and family realized she was missing, they did everything they could to tell the proper people.
Yeah. They did everything you're supposed to do if someone's missing.
And from that moment on, it was completely mishandled by the cruise ship, by the FBI, by any kind of authority figure.
Yeah. The cruise was like, well, people paid for this trip. It's sad that this happened to the family, but the truth is life goes on. Like that in the Netflix documentary, that was the vibe that I got from the person who was, I forget his name, but he was in charge of operations on the ship. And that was basically, I was almost shocked at how heartless he had come off and casual about it. Even after all these years later, like, well, that's just what, people paid for it and we have to keep face.
But that's not even true. Like, if you asked anybody probably on that boat that was like, hey, one of the 300 people on this boat is missing, I think that there would be a community factor.
Yeah, people would. I'm sure there'd be some Karen who'd be like, I paid for this cruise, but I feel I'm one of the people.
Let the Karen be a Karen.
I think that most people are good. And I think that most people would want to help find someone who's missing.
Yeah.
Or at least be like,
or at
excited by it almost.
Yeah, like, okay, everyone, like, you're not allowed to leave the boat. Like, it'll be another hour.
Yeah.
You signed up to be on a boat for 3 days. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You can be on the boat for another hour.
Yeah. Until we find her. And I'm also sure at that point in time, the cruise's mentality was like, she's somewhere, the parents are just exaggerating or like being anxious or whatever.
Imagine if even if this was a situation where there was no sex trafficking involved, there wasn't even the possibility of a child being thrown overboard, it was like a 5-year-old girl missing.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you do the same thing? It's a matter of safety.
Yeah, you would want to be assured that everyone on your ship
is on your ship.
You kind of take that responsibility when you're a crew member of a ship.
However, knowing that this was how lax the security and thought of a cruise ship might have been the perfect sort of equation for someone selling someone to a sex trafficking ring to just take advantage of.
Yeah, they know how lackadaisical they are. They're not gonna really put in much effort if one person is missing.
Yep.
So they could kind of pick up on that, and maybe they've done it before.
Yep.
Maybe they didn't get as much coverage as Amy's case.
And obviously the looking into Yellow Douglas was a total flop. They did a questioning and then a lie detector test, which you do a lie detector test, but it doesn't actually corroborate anything.
We've talked about this before. Lie detector tests, I think, are just there for police to say, oh, this doesn't look good. So for someone to pass, I don't think it means anything.
Right.
I think it is an indicator that someone's a good test taker or not.
Yes, that's what it is. It's can someone lie?
Yeah. There were a couple shady details in his accounts. Like, he had said that he was last with Amy, that he left the dance floor at 1 a.m., but he was last seen with her at 3 a.m. And he had said that someone came at 6 a.m. to say that Amy was missing. But at that point, only Amy's dad knew that she was missing. Now you could kind of say, like, maybe time is a little funky, you know.
You're on a boat.
You're on a boat. Yeah, you're someone who, like, has a buffer always of, like, an hour or two when you're giving time. But I think it's so creepy, the detail, that Yellow had gone up to Brad before anyone else on the ship had known that Amy was missing and said, hey man, sorry to hear about your sister.
Like, come on.
Yeah. And they were so caught up in what was happening in the moment that Brad didn't think
about it. Like,
how weird that was until it happened. Until, like, after, and he was processing everything. Something's fishy.
I mean, it's incredibly fishy that, and then backtrack that to him giving the time of 6 a.m. Like, maybe that's like a pickup time.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's actually a really good point.
It's a definite time. It's not like, you know, he's not saying, oh, somewhere between 6 and 6:30. He said 6 a.m. That's when his pickup time was.
Yeah. One of the first sightings of Amy, if not the first sighting of Amy, came 5 months later after her disappearance in August 1998. There were 2 Canadian divers who reported seeing a woman closely resembling Amy on a beach in Curacao. They noticed this woman who looked like her, along with an aggressive-looking man who they said matched Yellow's description.
Yep.
And when this woman, I don't want to say it was Amy, but when this person had heard them speaking English, she tried to approach them, but then was motioned away by the men. And this witness also said that she would try to make eye contact with them and then, like, look down. And they were close enough to her that they were able to accurately describe a tattoo that she had of the Tasmanian devil. And her eyes, they were able to describe her eyes. So this sounds like a pretty accurate sighting of her.
Yeah.
And I think that would be, if you were in that situation, I feel like that would be very on par for kind of how you would react. Like, you'd want to get someone's attention if you knew that they spoke your language.
Yeah. But
you wouldn't want to call attention to it, especially because that could make your captors angry and take that out on you.
It's just interesting that, like, she hadn't come across any other English-speaking people in the 5 months she had been on Curacao.
Well, maybe she did, and this was just the first, like, group of people
that got close enough. Yeah, sure.
Maybe this was something that the woman had been trying to, and just your first thought isn't, this person is in danger, unless they're doing something actively to indicate that they're in danger.
But again, where is, like, the police, the FBI questioning Yellow about where he was at the time? Like, you know, where's the return to him? Just, again, they've let him off the hook because of that lie detector test. Ridiculous.
Listen, they're not getting a high Uncle Bob's rating either. They're getting a pretty strong 1 out of 5 Uncle Bobs here. Another sighting that happened, and Pooja, this is gonna infuriate you because it infuriated me.
I'm already mad.
There was another potential sighting of Amy from U.S. Navy Petty Officer William Hefner, who claimed that he had an encounter with a woman identifying herself as Amy when he visited a brothel in January 1999, so about 10 months after her disappearance. And
Where was the brothel?
I'll put it up there. Pooja's trying to make me look bad. Anyway, this officer said that the woman told him that she was being held against her will, that she had disembarked a cruise ship to buy drugs and was now trapped. And what do you think the officer did, Pooja?
I have low expectations for what he did at this point.
So he did nothing. He was afraid of the repercussions, being in the military, and he
going
wasn't
to a brothel.
supposed to be at a brothel. So he didn't do anything until May 2002. He had contacted the Bradleys when I guess everything was all clear for him. Mm-hmm. By this point, the brothel had burned down. So when the FBI went to investigate, there was nothing to look at.
Oh.
Yeah. There's a lot of things about this case that, like, almost... There were good people, you know, trying to help the family, but there are also just a lot of instances like this where you're like, really? You did nothing. But
I mean, everything...
I believe this sighting because, you know, like you say, what do you have to lose? We're talking about this guy and we're kind of, you know, saying that was a really shitty thing to do. Who would want that negative attention unless it was something that really did happen?
Yeah, at a certain level, he had to admit that he was at a brothel.
Yeah.
No matter if it was Amy or someone else named Amy, he should have reported it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was someone being held against their will.
There was another sighting, potential sighting of Amy in March 2005. A woman named Judy Marr reported seeing someone resembling Amy in a department store bathroom in Barbados. The woman was accompanied by 4 men discussing what sounded like an illegal deal, and the woman at one point was asking, "Can we stop to see the children?" The woman said that she believed this woman, looking like Amy, had said that she was from West Virginia.
Oh.
Similar enough to Virginia. And that her name was Amy.
Oh.
One of the questions that the Bradleys and investigators have asked over time, if Amy's alive, why hasn't she contacted the family?
Mm-hmm.
And you could explain it by saying there's Stockholm syndrome. She might be afraid for her family's life, but maybe she has children.
Yeah.
Her priority now has to be the children, unfortunately, instead of the family that she was taken from.
Yeah. That one couldn't be safe without the other, or maybe neither would be safe if she contacted someone.
I'm sure she wants to contact her family. I'm sure she's not doing it because she doesn't want to. I'm sure she has, if she's alive and well, I'm sure she's not contacting them because someone is stopping her, whether it's kind of like what we were talking with Shelley Miscavige, like mentally you feel trapped or you're actually physically being trapped.
Sure, yeah.
And in that same year, the Bradleys received an email containing images of a woman strongly resembling Amy that we looked at earlier today. The photos were discovered by a member of an online organization that aims to track victims on websites that feature sex workers. This woman looks so much like her. Mm-hmm. They did like an analysis, like eyebrows, cheeks, like she looks older and she has longer hair. You don't, unfortunately, see any 100% identifying remarks. Like, you can't see the tattoos of the woman or anything, but the person working with the FBI who looked at this said that he would bet his career that was Amy.
I mean, think about, so this is like 2005?
Yeah.
That they were sent this?
Yeah, so this would have been 7 years that she had been gone.
A person that is living a normal life looks different. In 7 years. She's going through something traumatic at that point. Like, she's going to look slightly different. And if you can spot similarities even beyond that, like, come on.
I personally think those photos were of her. It's just so creepy.
Yeah. Like, I'm curious if anyone has been able to get any other angles of, like, of that particular sex worker, if they have the tattoo, for example. Things like that would, like, really identify her.
Yeah, that would confirm. There was someone who, and this part of the case infuriates me so much that I don't really want to talk too much about it, other than the fact that, like, the Bradleys just went through hell going through this case. But there were people who were taking advantage of them, and there was someone who was saying that he was working with an organization that could do a rescue of Amy and was demanding money, and the family was doing their due diligence in making sure that he was legitimate, but unfortunately they wound up sending him $210,000 in hopes of rescuing their daughter, and it all wound up to be bullshit. Fortunately, he was arrested and he served 5 years in jail. I think that should be punishable by death. Is that a hot take? Is that too hot of a take?
It's a hot take. Yeah.
Frank Jones. What's his name?
No.
I do think he needs to have like a mar on his record for the rest of his life, but it's just like, what a horrible thing to do to a family that's grieving. Like, I'm sure many people try to take advantage. In all of these cases, I feel like we've talked about this, witnesses and that fake witnesses and fake sightings and things like that, and what people will do to either get notoriety or money. The sightings that we believe feel believable for a reason to me. They don't feel like they're about getting the name out there or about money or about, we know something you don't.
Yeah, or just being a part of the story.
Unlike our other cases too, this is not small town thinking. Yeah. This isn't a waitress at a diner. Yeah. This isn't,
I'm assuming if you're going to the Caribbean, you're somewhat well-traveled.
Yeah, or, you're either well-traveled or, I don't know. I don't actually know. I don't actually think people,
who go to the Caribbean.
I was going to tell you my opinion of people who take cruises, but.
Please do. Pooja, I'm so curious what you think.
I mean, I clearly don't understand the mindset of someone taking a cruise.
And this is not to victim blame in any sense, please don't misinterpret it that way. I don't get the appeal of cruises.
You are in jail on a boat.
International waters, no law, the implication.
You can't leave.
Yeah.
You enter the boat with a set of people, and if you hate them all or if they're all terrible, you're stuck with them for however long you paid for.
Yeah. The one cruise that I went on, people were very cool. Like, I had some nice conversations with people. It was a good time, but I could see how it would go wrong.
Yeah.
Talk about that poop cruise that happened like years ago.
Yeah.
On the cruise that I went on, we were like, we were in some like jazz piano bar where you'd put in requests and the guy would play them. He didn't know Smells Like Teen Spirit, but he did play Enter Sandman for me, which was nice. Someone was like farting so bad. Like, I legitimately thought he was shit. It was this old guy in a wheelchair, and we had to like leave the club on multiple occasions because like I was trying not to be dramatic, but it was so bad. I don't know. There's just so many bad things that could happen on like a bad fart is the least of it. That's what I thought.
I think that, look, don't invite me on a cruise. That's all I'm saying. I'm just not going to go.
Pooja also had to listen to a domestic argument once. me and Mike have a very healthy relationship, don't worry. Poor Pooja had to listen to us talk about how we were going to strategize going on a cruise and somehow killing the other one. And I think Pooja thought it was real. Maybe it is real.
And I'll never know.
She'll be in court. She was my best friend. I don't know why she'd kill her husband.
Never spent any time growing up in the South.
I can't picture cruises being a great time. They make it look fun in the advertisements, though.
I get it. I kind of like understand the appeal because I love Vegas, and I think that cruise ships have the spirit of Vegas, but they're on a boat. There's just something to me about not being able to leave that really feels.
What if you have a medical emergency?
What if you have a medical emergency? Also, honestly, every cruise I've heard about. There's always something wrong with the fish. There's always something wrong with the food. Like, there's always food poisoning happening. And, like, then I'm on a boat losing my mind over a toilet. Like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Have you ever looked out at the water and just have seen nothing?
It's terrifying.
It's terrifying.
The ocean is vast.
Remember the kid who jumped overboard in 2023?
Right.
And then, like, they threw him a life raft and he was swimming away and it looked like there was a shark Maybe the footage was really grainy, but
yeah.
And then they never found him. Like, that's terrifying. There just seems to be so much evidence pointing to foul play here, including the photos. We briefly mentioned this in the narrative, but when the family went to go get photos to distribute of her, to have recent photos that they had like just taken on the ship, every single passenger's was still there except for Amy's.
Yeah.
There's so many weird instances like that I don't think you could chalk up to coincidences. I think she was targeted. I think she was a victim of trafficking. And if she's alive or not, I don't know, but I do think she was alive for a decent amount of time after.
I think the sightings from, within the 10 years of her having gone missing are real. I hope she's still alive for the sake of being alive, and the hope that her family could see her one day, because clearly they're still looking. Like, the perseverance of this family is really touching. That they're like, this documentary came out this year on Netflix, and they had full support of it. Like, they want to find her.
Another thing that I find that they brought up in the documentary that I thought was interesting as someone who works in SEO, that they brought up on holidays and birthdays, the family's webpage, like how the Bradleys are doing, always has a very long time on site. If someone looked at how much for our Shelley Miscavige episode I was looking at pages, I think they'd be like, oh, is she like a cousin or something? But I don't know, that like it makes you wonder, is Amy alive and looking? Yeah, and looking, and on someone's birthday or on Christmas, that's her way of kind of feeling like she's there with her family. If she can't access them otherwise. Yeah. It would be interesting for her to have internet access.
I mean, I think they have internet access.
But I mean, if she's a human trafficking.
If she's been human trafficked.
She's a prostitute under someone's control.
Yeah.
I hope she's okay. I hope her family is able to maybe one day be reunited with her. But in the meantime, don't go on any cruises. Let's put cruises out of business. Let's put the bad cruises out of business.
Yeah, the good cruises can just be more economically priced.
Yeah.
But I'm still not going on them.
The water slides look fun, but...
No, they don't. They always break. I've seen so many videos of water slides on cruises breaking. I'm not interested.
What's your algorithm that you're getting water slides on cruises breaking?
Don't ask. Anxiety algorithm.
I've been getting so much in my algorithm of like morbidly obese women like breaking traffic lights and like going to KFC.
I promise you that's because you love Thousand Pound Sisters.
Oh, that show's great. Yeah.
We're keeping a close ear and eye out on this case, as is the rest of the world. We hope the FBI will pick up the pace, because it feels like there's a lot of holes that in their investigation that they could be doing better on.
If you have any information, please reach out to the appropriate authorities.
Stay safe out there, everyone. If you liked this episode, hit the like button. If you want to subscribe. And if you have any stories you'd love us to cover, email us or leave a comment below.
2girlsinthedarkpodcast@gmail.com.
Until next time, we'll see you in the dark.
Thanks for watching.